Yo, what's going on, y'all? So we got a handful of things to go over today with the Blue Protocol Star Resonance. They did have a live stream here recently for, this is the release week that's happening, and they did jump on some things. Namely, there's a very good hint of when Global will be released here within the information that was given to us, and I'll explain to you why that is. But we're going to go over some things here that they kind of discuss with optimizations and, of course, the new class and new fight and all these different types of combat stuff. That's kind of a part of what we're going to be seeing. But nonetheless, remember, the game drops this week coming in China, but of course, we got some time for it to drop global wise. But I think we have a pretty good idea here on the release date. Well, more or less exactly, I'm pretty sure. So we'll dive right in and we'll get this thing rolling. But first, if you like and subscribe, it helps out tremendously. Thank you very much. So if you hadn't seen my previous video talking about how there was way too many fan-made videos within this thing, then maybe you wouldn't realize that, yes, they had a live stream, the developers had a live stream for Blue Protocol Star Resonance leading up into the release week of the game. So they really outlined a whole bunch of things that kind of they learned from the beta. They outlined they outlined a roadmap for the first season, second season, and third season of the game. And they outline a new fight, some new classes, a new class, and new classes, technically speaking, it's 2. But we don't know what the second one is. But we know what the first one is. So there's a handful of things to really dive into here. And we're going to discuss all of this. First and foremost, starting with this was at the very beginning of the stream, where they kind of just discuss kind of what's ahead and what's to be expected and kind of what their idea of everything going on. This is pretty much just like feedback of, they're addressing things, they're going to constantly be moving forward with things, they learn from the beta, and pretty much just saying here that they have balance adjustments in mind, that there's a equipment availability expansion, as well as things related to the Bound Roses, and of course the optimization that they're going to continuously be doing. Naturally, of course, obviously that comes to the territory, right? That's what this is kind of going on. That's kind of what the first part of the live stream was really focusing on, as they discuss these things. And then they kind of start to go into certain things that would be new that would be seen. First and foremost would be this boss fight that we have coming up, where we saw a little sneak peek of this guy before, if you've been seeing like on social media platforms, and now they have fully showcased this guy and how he operates. So we'll go ahead and roll this little trailer right here and let you see it yourself. So this is the new boss fight that's kind of coming right into the game. You can see this guy. This guy's newly introduced to the game, and you can see he looks pretty freaking crazy. That's this crazy weapon right here. It's purple. This guy's going to transform. Now this combat here, I'm not overly too impressed with this combat because it kind of just reminds me way too much of a freaking Final Fantasy 14 or like a WoW. And quite frankly, those combats are pretty freaking boring, to be completely honest. But I know a lot of y'all like these, and you can see these different mechanics that are taking place within this fight, which is kind of neat. You see this guy transforms, as I told y'all he would. And you got this nice little purple aura going on here. This dude's going like super duper Saiyan Goku version, but he's kind of evil. Look at that smile, bro. That smile is ruthless, isn't it? Look at that thing. Holy smokes. Look at that guy, dude. That's a face only a mother could love. Nonetheless, we'll keep this rolling. So you see this gets pretty intense. So the mechanics do look pretty nice in that regard. There's obviously different pathing and patterns that the boss has. So that's always good. And really, we won't really know exactly how this really operates until we get our hands on it. But as you can see there, that was kind of their little release, little sneak peek view of this fight here. And then they kind of go into detail, just kind of talking about the fight. Everything on this page is literally just talking about how the mechanics work. It's talking about different attack types, and it's really just giving a rundown of the boss. So there's nothing in here that's specific that you need to really be like, oh, I really need to know this. No, it's just really just kind of like, okay, this guy does this cool little move and all this stuff. So it's showing that there's different mechanics to the fight. That's what this is talking about right here. But nonetheless, that's this new guy that we're getting. So that was kind of neat. I do like that they have implemented, some interesting bosses in here. However, I don't know how many we're going to get and how diverse they are. And if they're all just kind of like, I know they've brought some mobs back into like the open world, whereas like Blue Protocol JP had a lot of bosses in the open world, where I don't know if it's going to be that same scale of in the open world, which I hope that it is. I hope that all like the interesting bosses are not just locked behind these type of like domain areas, which is the same freaking domain map every single time. It's all, every time we see a boss fight, is always in an area that looks just like this, which I don't like that. at all. I didn't like that at all. If it seems like, yeah, okay, well, we don't want to put these bosses in this little certain area, certain size area, and that's really all that we can work with. So GG's, you know. I don't really like that about that. So hopefully that's not the case. Blue Protocol JP was much more diverse in that regard, and it allowed some of the bosses to have some really neat mechanics within that because the spaces were much different in that regard. So we'll see how this works, but it doesn't look too terrible. Of course, you see they're using Soul Magician right here, which we'll go over as well. This is the new class that they introduced, and they added some more information on it. So we'll dive in. We'll keep moving though. Of course, littered throughout this whole little live stream was a whole bunch of merchandise stuff. So it's just a lot of this was just showing off merchandise. Let's be completely honest. A lot of it was just showing off merchandise. You know, showing off merchandise. You feel me? And so, secondly, on this table, we want to talk about how they showcase the housing system. So we know that they've been talking about the housing system. In a previous video, I mentioned that they would have the housing system available at release, and we're going to actually roll back to that. But they show the housing system here a little bit, and this is kind of an early version of the housing system. So this isn't completely, fully what they want it to be at, but this is an early version of the housing system. So you get to kind of see it here. Let's say, you know, you get to see some of the mechanics here going on within the housing system. But all in all, you see it kind of has the basics going on there and some customization options there. Not too sure how, you know, intricate they're planning to make this, but you can see that there is some customization options here that you can work with. Let's say there's some farmland that you can plant stuff on. So you can see there's some plants right there, put stuff there. Hopefully you can grow some stuff. Maybe you can grow some materials. That would be good if they have stuff like that, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. Nonetheless, though, you do see that there's a housing system here, and they are planning to continuously, you know, work on this and continuously add to it as the game progresses out through the span of its life. And I don't know to what degree they're planning to, you know, invest in making this a really unique experience. But as of right now, this is kind of what we're seeing right here, and they're going to expand on it further, as, like I said, they mentioned later on in here, which we'll discover, or we'll discuss rather, as well down the line. And then next I want to stop here. This is actually kind of neat here. So what you're looking at here is actually like events that happen pretty much every day at like certain times. So you have weekly event types. So this is relevant only for China, obviously, because obviously the game's not global. But so you see the dates here is for 7/17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And you'll see here that each of these are different. And so they all occur during these certain different times as well. So you can see here that about different times here that they occur. And so these are all different things. So like this one right here is like a mount race. And then you have these patrol ones right here. This is a bandit patrol. This is a moot patrol. This is a, this bottom left right here is a city wall patrol. You have a theater one and a dance one and an obstacle course right here. So you have an assortment of different things going on here, and these all occur at different times. So say starting at starting on the 19th, this will occur at, on this day at this time. So like every Tuesday and Thursday at this time, or so and so and so. So I do actually like this because that kind of gives incentive to, you know, do these events or, you know, hop on, and they're all different. You know, there's one's an obstacle course. There's, you know, bandit cleanup. I like that 3 of them are related to like fighting mobs. I like that. That's good. And then of course, you know, they have these kind of, you know, dance ones and theater ones. So they're kind of unique in that regard. I thought this would be really interesting to kind of show y'all and explain to y'all that it is there, because this does add a little bit of diversity to the whole thing. And hopefully they keep stuff like this in the game and really diversify up. So that way there's always kind of a reason to really hop on and, you know, on a different day for a different type of weekly type event. So that way, you know, if it gives you different type of rewards or whatever, or just whatever, it's a great incentive to hop on the game and really kind of dive into different play styles or so and so and so, especially if you get different things for doing it. So I do like this, that they're doing this. I think this is a plus for the most part. I think this is a plus. So hopefully they don't just do this as like an opening type of deal for the release and then kind of just dwindle down on it. You know, hopefully that's not the case, but I do like this. So what we have next here is a roadmap. So season 1, 2, 3 roadmap for what we have coming up ahead. And so the reason why I want to stop here and talk about this in particular is because this actually gives us a scope of what the global release date is likely looking at. So if you look here at this graphic, you'll see they have season 1, season 2, season 3. Season 1 is the Soul Musician. You'll see the 20-person raid right here. And then the housing system beta. The beta, it's like how we kind of talked before about the housing system, how it's not fully where they want it to be at, but it is releasing here with the Chinese version, right? And then over here in season 2, we have a new plateau. We have a secret realm as well, and then the formal housing system. Now over here in season 3, we have a band system and a new class. Yes, a new class. So we have the Soul Musician that's coming over here at the start. And we have a new class as well that's coming in January of 2026. Now, what I really want to focus on here is this season 2 portion that takes place in October. Now, the reason why I want to focus on this is because this right here, the formal housing system. So pretty much just saying the completion of the housing system. Remember, this is in the beta. So the release right now, China, this is in kind of the pre-stages of the housing system. This is like the official release of the housing system. Now, if y'all remember, and you can go back and rewatch my other YouTube video for Blue Protocol, where I talked about the interview that took place with the founder of Bokra. And the founder, it was specifically talking about global. It was specifically talking about the global version of the game. It was not about CN. And he specifically said that global release, the housing system would be available. That can easily lead us to believe here that we're looking at an October release, because this is when the formal version, the finished version of the housing system is to be finalized, is to be released, which is likely telling us that global version is going to release around this time as well. That's likely what we are seeing here, so I would not be surprised. Y'all can probably expect the global version to be released around October, probably coinciding with this update where the formal housing is released. Because of what he said, the founder of Bokra, in that interview, specifically talking about the global version and how he worded the formal housing system, or the housing system being ready and being there at release and being ready to go, you can pretty much deduce that this is likely where we're seeing the release date, which means that beta for global is probably going to happen in September, more than likely. In September or the end of August. That's what we're looking at here. So that's why I want to stop right here, so that way y'all saw this, because I thought this was very important for y'all to note in this regard. Because this is really, really good representation of when we're likely to see the release of the game across global. I thought some of you might be interested in this as well. These are little fishing suits, so I'm not sure if these are going to be available in the global version, but just so you can see that they are there, these are some fishing suits that they introduced, as well as a fishing mount. But like I said, I don't know if these are going to be, exclusive to CN version, or if they'll be on global as well. But as you can see here, little unique outfits, fairly unique, kind of strange. And you got this little Bob in her mouth, I guess. Both of them got little, are they babies, I guess? I don't know. But nonetheless, that was something that I figured I would show y'all in case y'all were kind of interested in the costume design that they would have for like bathing suits, stuff like that. This is the mount that I was talking about prior, where it's a fish mount. This actually isn't that bad. It's kind of neat, to be honest. But this is a fish mount, so that's kind of neat. But I figured I'd show you all that in case y'all were interested. Like I said, I don't know if this will be global or not, or if this is exclusive to China, but nonetheless, it's something here for y'all to see. And while this holds absolutely zero relevance to any of y'all, because if you're playing on global, then this definitely does not matter. This does kind of showcase that they're kind of having events running until next month in August, whereas like you participate in certain things, so participate in like fireworks night and stuff like that, where you can get some little, little incentives to pretty much incentives to do different things in the game, and you can use it to trade in for certain stuff that will be available for this little window when the game starts. We'll probably see stuff like this as well in global when it releases. So just kind of showing y'all here that is a thing that they're doing right here. So that way you can probably expect to see that same type of deal going on whenever the game releases global side. And then last but not least, I figured I'd show you all this right here. This is just a little fight action with the Dragon Raid boss. So this kind of shows you some of the gameplay there that you're going to be experiencing when you're fighting these types of bosses. So this is a neat showcase to kind of see here what to be expected here. We'll actually move my camera here and run this back so y'all can see it fully here. But nonetheless, this is kind of neat to really be seeing so that way you can understand what's to be expected here within the gameplay elements of the game and how it will operate. So there's a few different, types of bosses and stuff, types of field. Obviously, we saw some before, which was the main new guy that we saw with the crazy, transformation and whatnot. Then we have here, which is the Dragon Raid, with a bit more players in there. Obviously that fight before at the very start was a low man fight, whereas this one is a bit higher fight. So you'll see these, in especially like 20 people raids and things of the sort. We'll probably be fighting those dragons. This was similar. Well, this was the same in Blue Protocol JP as well, where the dragon was very often one of those huge raid bosses. However, I think it was a bit more than 20 people in BPJP. But nonetheless, this is what we have here, and this is what I really want to showcase. The main thing being, of course, that roadmap. So that roadmap was obviously pretty crucial there for us to see, for us to really kind of dive in and really get an idea of when we're likely going to see the global release of the game. Because this is really lines up with the interview that we had with, I believe his name was Roy, the founder of Bokra. So this really lines up with how he was talking about the global release. So I would expect it to be around here. So the beta likely being a month prior or the end of August for the global release. This is what I would imagine. So what do y'all think about this? It's a handful of new information that we have here for the game, and maybe something to get excited about. So as we saw, they're looking to do balance adjustments and tweak things and optimizations and all the jazz that you should be doing for an MMORPG. Now, of course, I still have my skepticisms on it, but I'm still very much interested in seeing how the game is going to end up panning out, and if the monetary aspects of it are not overly aggressive. Because I want a game, an MMORPG that we can play as an MMORPG. We are deprived of a good quality MMORPG. The MMORPG community is deprived of one. We have been for decades, for like over a decade now. The last relevant ones, were released over a decade ago. The MMORPGs that are relevant now were released over a decade ago, pretty much, like the popular ones. So it's like, dude, we have been deprived of a quality MMORPG. So we're hoping for the best for this game, but only time will tell. Like I said before, we'll see a lot of CN gameplay. So it will give us a better idea of what we're diving into and what we'll to be expecting when global release comes out. My hope is, of course, that when global release releases, if it releases in the same update, then they're lined up in the updates. However, we're not seeing a situation where CN's getting releases earlier and then global's getting releases months later. That would not be good. Although that does not happen, it shouldn't happen. Do not let that happen. That will not be good for the game whatsoever. So hopefully we see some goodness moving forward in that regard. That's what y'all think about what they showed here and kind of what they have lined up for us for the future. Moving into January 2026, of course. This new boss fight, this guy here, is pretty neat looking. But what do y'all think about the whole situation? So be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think, y'all. And be sure to like and subscribe. We will be covering Blue Protocol Star Resident stuff as it moves closer and closer and closer to being released in global wide. Of course, once the game is released global, we will be, of course, diving into it, as I did play BPJP for its full duration. So naturally, I'm very familiar with the IP, very familiar with the franchise, and I can kind of spot this and that and how things are different and how things are really positive or cons or whatnot with both versions of the game. So we are definitely interested within this game, interested within the growth of the game, and hopefully they get it right. Hopefully they get it somewhat decent. Hopefully, even though it's on mobile as well, it's not going to be terrible. Hopefully. That is my hopes. Can we hope? I have a dream, I guess. I have a dream. Anyways, y'all, be sure to like and subscribe. I will see y'all in the next one. Much love.
Spike Suit content.